I was raised in a military background, and I'm also a type A personality, and I'm constantly expecting myself to go ahead and keep going. But with fibro, that is a problem. And it also causes a bit of a separation between what is reality, what is expected, and what I can physically do. That made pacing be something that was so important to learn. Until I did that, my fibro was off the charts high. I regularly sat at like a 15 and on a 10 pain scale for months on it. And it took me years to get past that. Pacing is not just physically. We're taught from children to push, rest, recover, and then repeat. But because of our symptoms, that cycle has to break. We cannot follow the traditional cycle. We also have to learn to adapt on a day to day basis because our symptoms are not always the same. And the more we keep trying to force ourselves to be in that same cycle, the more our symptoms will flare. So, pacing is not just about being adaptable, it's also about how we look at ourselves. The bottom line is you're not managing energy, you're managing the unpredictability of your symptoms and the environment you live in. When you look at physical pacing, things we are taught that our bodies have this particular cycle. We have our rest period, which is at night. We've got beginning of our day when we're supposed to be the most energetic. And then by the end of the day, we're starting to get tired physically. It includes all those invisible things we do. Taking showers, cooking, cleaning. One thing you've got to learn to accept is that just because you can do something, it doesn't mean you should. When we deal with our good days, we see all these things that need to be done. And what we want to do is we want to get them done. The problem is the more energy we burn in short bursts, the less we have later on. So you have to learn to do things in small chunks. Give yourself break times. If you break it down and do it in stages, you're less likely to cause a flare because you don't expend all of your physical energy at one point. When it comes to mental pacing, if you think about it, you've got to go to the grocery store. What do you do before you do that? Maybe you look at your bank statement. Maybe you start planning meals. You've got to get up, get in the car, and you go into the store where you're filled with all kinds of scents, light, and choices. All of this can actually cause a large mental drain on you. When you're in the grocery store, you've got to look at all the products and you've got to decide whether or not you can afford it or whether you have the energy to do it. You look at all the prepared things and think this will be so much easier, but then you look at the ingredient list and it's got so many additives. Is it going to be healthy for you? All of these decisions actually do cause their own form of fatigue because overthinking can cause physical crashes that above physicality of going grocery shopping. All of this is ties the mental struggles and decisions into your own physicality. All of this burns energy. And this is something you've got to pace as well. You've got to do things in small chunks. And this actually applies to people who don't have fibro as well. When it comes to emotional pacing, your emotions are very much tied to your physical form. As much as we would like to separate them, we can't. All three of these pacing items are directly linked to each other. How in the world are we supposed to feel like we're valuable when we have to ask everybody for help to do everything we need to do? That's an emotional drain that can cause massive issues for you psychologically. Stuff like that leads to depression, which causes a lot of fatigue all on its own. As we deal with the emotional consequences of what we have, whether or not we're giving enough to our family, we're keeping enough for ourselves or not, we have to go out and look at and deal with the people that are looking at us because we look young and we're not moving the way we should. All of that is emotional consequences. And whether you realize it, it all adds up to more strain on your physical and mental body. And that is where pacing is so important. When you physically overdo something and that causes a mental drain, then you add that mental drain of you should be doing more, but you're not, and that leads to more emotional drain. It's another vicious cycle. Is it a wonder why we have so much trouble with our emotions or why we have so much trouble with doing things? Because we're constantly draining ourselves to try and keep going, and we don't give ourselves the break we need. You do not want to try and follow a rigid schedule. You want to build in flexibility in everything you do because you've got to learn to adapt your pacing to what your physical body is telling you that day. Some days it's about choosing what matters the most and what you're most able to actually handle. Some days is stopping before it makes sense. It's about putting boundaries on yourself, paying attention to what your body's telling you and saying, okay, when I reach this tired level, I stop. It's about things like finding recipes that you can adapt. It's about finding socialization, things that you want to do, but maybe shortening the amount of time you do them. It's about spending time with your friends, but understanding that with your limitations, it's okay if you don't spend as much time as everybody else wants. It's about working, but breaking the tasks down into very small chunks. Because emotionally, the thought of you completing ideas actually is very strong in giving you boosts. When I do things, I break things down a lot. I give myself a goal and then make sure it's split up to at least 5 things because I know the achievement factor of getting each of those small goals means that that larger project, it's that much smaller. Pacing is not about being perfect. Pacing is about giving your body the rest periods it needs without overdoing it. And I don't mean overdoing it physically. I mean not overdoing it by doing too little. Because no matter how you look at it, you've got to do a certain amount of process every day, even though you don't feel like it. Because the more you just let your body rest, the more you're actually going to cause other ramifications on your physical energy. The more you gain weight, the less you do, the more your muscles atrophy, the less you're able to do, and the less energy you have to work with. So it's about finding that balance between what you can do and what you need to do. And only you can make that. I still have flares. I still have pain and I still have cognitive fog. It's not about being perfect. What it's about is the fact we've got a community. We have so many people that have fibromyalgia that are lost in the sea. They don't know what to do, they don't know how to do it, and they don't understand how pacing can help because most of them are not taught what pacing actually is. They're told it's all physical, but it's not. It's all of the above. Everything in our environment is affected by our pacing. What we can do, what we can't, how much energy we have, and how much we lose. It's about your body. Each person's levels is different. And yet, when you think about it, everybody's strategies, their coping strategies for how they deal with their limitations, can't help each other. Maybe it won't work for everybody, but you never know when it'll help someone else. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to share how some of my strategies work. And the final thing I want to say is, in a way, pacing reflects back on your identity. The reason why is because with each different personality, we have different expectations of ourselves. And we have different things that we want to do with our lives. Some may want to travel, some may want to go and visit places they've never been. I did the same when I left the US and I came to the UK because I'd always dreamed of seeing the UK. It was one of my bucket lists, and I did it despite my fibro. Sometimes your dreams can still be followed just in a different way. And pacing is so heavily influenced in that because maybe you can't do it in the way you thought you would when you were younger. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. You just got to break it down into small steps that take into account not only your physical limitations, but your mental and your emotional as well. And one more thing related to pacing. Pacing is not about restriction. It's about sustainability, how we sustain our energy levels. And we do that through breaking them down. We do that with accepting our limitations and getting through the grief of our body not being what we wanted. Do you ever feel like your body just doesn't follow the same rules from one day to the next? What's one thing you've noticed that affects your energy more? I want to thank you for being here. I also hope you have a much better week. If you find this content valuable, feel free to like this video. If you have somebody who is struggling with this illness, please feel free to share this video or this channel. I would really like to build a community where we support each other to try and make this illness a little less isolatory. Have a good day. I do want to add one thing. These videos are written from my own personal experiences, from my own research. They are not meant as a medical diagnosis. They're not meant as medical advice. I'm just trying to share ways that I've learned to deal with the illness from over 3 decades of experience.